Hello, welcome to the Whovian's Perspective, a series where I, CM5, a massive fan of Doctor Who, reviews Star Trek. Today we're covering Season 1, Episode 2, The basic events of the episode are as follows. A small cargo ship, the Antares, offloads a teenager they found stranded on a planet onto the Enterprise. Everything seems normal, but it quickly becomes apparent that the kid has stunted emotional development due to being stranded since the age of 3. After transvestigating Yeoman Rand...
Is that a girl?
He develops a crush on her and begins trying to woo her. Okay. It's also introduced that Charlie has magical mind powers, turning synthetic turkey into real turkey and blowing up the Antares. Jesus. After being humiliated in a training room, he poofs the guy out of existence, turning the whole crew against him. Charlie then uses his mind powers to take control of the ship and goes on a rampage. Kirk has the idea of inciting sensory overload by turning on all the ship's systems, and in doing so, Charlie lets controls of the communications slip. And the mythical race of people who brought him up and gave him the mind powers fix everything and take Charlie back. This is a bit of a deus ex machina, though I do understand. They were running out of time, and it's not like you're going to have the episode end with Kirk killing this kid, so I'm willing to forgive it, especially since Doctor Who has done way worse. It was kind of set up, multiple lines hinting towards it, but it still feels kind of abrupt. So, there. That's the basic plot of the episode. Don't worry, I'm going to go into the specifics, but first, we have to address the elephant in the room. Charlie is autistic. I don't know if this was intentional, and based on the knowledge around autism in the 1960s, I highly doubt that it was, but at the end of the day, this is an autistic character. Now, of course, I'm no psychiatrist, but I am autistic myself. I know what it's like. Within moments of Charlie appearing on screen, I saw a correlation between his actions and mannerisms and my experience, and for an episode that aired over 50 years ago, this works as a really good portrayal. It does fall into the category of autism portrayal, that is, they're autistic because they're an alien or have mystic powers. Much like night terrors from Series 6 of Doctor Who. Luckily, reminding me of that episode is the worst thing that this one did. Again, for the 60s, this is an exceptional portrayal, even if unintentional. It's imperfect, sure, but it's miles ahead of a lot of the stuff that would come out even 40 years later.
And I should point out that this amazing seat was made by my brother, Spencer! That's your brother's name! Wow, this girl really knows her iCarly. Yes, she does.
It's true, I do. This seat is comfortable. Go on, do your thing.
There's a scene with Kirk and Charlie where he explains his thoughts. It cut incredibly deep.
Everything I do or say is wrong. I'm in the way. I don't know the rules. And when I learn something and try to do it, suddenly I'm wrong. What? I don't know what I am or what I'm supposed to be or even who. I don't know why I hurt so much inside all the time.
You'll live. Believe me.
The experience of being different to everyone, trying to fit in by imitating the mannerisms of others, but always getting it slightly off, is something I'm deeply familiar with. At one point, Charlie sees a mechanic slap another dude's butt and does it to Janet, thinking it's just a sign of affection. The amount of times in my youth that I did something socially unacceptable by misinterpreting others' behaviors and trying to imitate them, or that I completely missed a social cue and ended up being rude, made the scenes where Charlie does the same incredibly potent. The thing about Charlie is he doesn't want to be adored or anything, he just wants to fit in and be reasonably liked. In the recreational bay, when Uhura starts singing about him like it's Scream 2, he uses his mind powers to shut her up. This isn't because he dislikes her singing or that he's being a dick, but he doesn't like the attention called to him. He doesn't want to be perceived as anything too out of the ordinary. If I walked into a room full of people I barely knew and they started singing a song about me, I'd do the same. I'd use my mind powers to shut them up. He just wants to be another person aboard the Enterprise. When he eventually takes control of the ship and starts using his powers to actively hurt people, it's because he sees it as a lost cause. Despite Kirk's efforts to guide and comfort him, the other people on the ship aren't always as understanding. I mean, Yeoman Rand, despite being made uncomfortable by his advances, tries to be nice to him, but stuff like the guy in the training room who makes fun of him pushes him over the edge. Feeling like he's viewed as more of a spectacle than a person, he lashes out. After Kirk can only reprimand him for the apparent murder of a crewmate, he feels like this is a lost cause. In his eyes, these people on the Enterprise will never see him in the way he wants to be viewed. Even Kirk, who he thought he could trust. Now, Kirk is 100% justified in this reaction, but goes about it in a way that only compounds Charlie's negative feelings, pushing him forward. Charlie takes control of the ship while the crew are trying to change the course of the Enterprise away from the human colony so that Charlie couldn't do any harm to them. It's revealed that he did the same to the Antares. After seeing the social atmosphere there as a lost cause for him to fit in, he took control of the ship and went to the Enterprise for a second chance at being a normal person. He only blew it up when they tried to contact the Enterprise to warn them of Charlie, and only did that because he felt the ship was at risk of exploding anyways. When he saw this new social atmosphere as a lost cause, he tried to do the same thing. He wanted to go to the human colony for a third chance of being a normal person. Now, I do want to note, I don't think this makes any of Charlie's behavior justified, but I still think it's a good thing to bring up because it adds a lot more depth to the character that you may have not noticed otherwise. When I was young, I transferred schools a lot, some due to circumstance and some due to my want to transfer. I went to a different school every single school year from the 3rd grade to the 11th grade. My parents would applaud me for being able to handle losing friends and having to make new ones, and apologize for the fact that I had to change schools so often in the first place, but I never saw it as a negative thing. By the time I was being transferred to a new school, I had considered the social environment to be a lost cause to me. Despite trying my hardest to fit in and be liked, I always ended up with the label of weirdo or freak. My mannerisms were off, my sense of humor was bizarre, and I would get upset at seemingly innocuous things. I didn't use mind powers to take down people who I'd felt had wronged me, but I did do my best to run away. A new school was another chance. A group of people who didn't know me, who I could try again to set a first impression to, try to perfect my imitation of a quote-unquote regular person. It never worked. The way I finally got it to stop was to go to a charter school where a lot more members of the student body were neurodivergent in some way like me. So when I watched as Charlie did the same thing that I did over and over again in my youth, it brought back a lot of bad memories. It hit incredibly close to home. In my notes for the episode, I pleaded for Charlie to use better coping habits, like I had learned through years of trial and error in therapy. Kirk's attempts to help him reminded me of many conversations with school counselors. Helpful, sure, but never getting to the root of the problem. If I had one major complaint besides the abruptness of the ending, it would be that a lot of the sympathy for Charlie is lost once he takes control of the ship. And so when it tries to have a sympathetic moment at the end, it kind of falls flat. The Thasians, the mythical species that kept Charlie alive and gave him his powers in his decade stranded, come to take him home, knowing that his use of powers could be a harm to the people around him. Charlie begs not to go. Mere moments ago, he had completely abandoned the crew's thoughts on him, as he would be leaving them soon for the Earth colony. But now, faced with the prospect of going home, he begs and begs for an understanding. The Thasians kept him alive, sure, but he was extremely lonely the whole time. They were emotionally incredibly distant. Kirk, now fully understanding that all he wants is to fit in, suggests that he continues to help guide Charlie, but the Thasians bring him back anyways. I like this ending, yeah, but it's a pretty hard feat to have the audience regain a sympathy for him after he just turned a lady into a lizard and tormented Spock. The Thasians arriving also felt a bit rushed, only minor lines of a strange signal on the comm setting up that they were coming. Other than that, I really liked this episode. I thought it was decently powerful, and my god, did it cut deep. I prefer this over the previous episode, making it my favorite episode of Star Trek ever, though I'm certain it'll get topped soon. I doubt this would hit nearly as hard to someone who didn't have any experience with being an outcast. But even without that, it's a well-written piece of science fiction. I'd recommend it. So far, we're 2 for 2 on episodes I like. I'm excited to see how long this is kept up. Until next time, I'm CM5, and this has been the Whovians Perspective. Hey, if you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep making them. It would be a real help. You'll get new episodes early and get to see some of the process behind making them. Thanks for watching, bye!